Okay, you guys, here we go. Voice lesson number 2, right, of the series. I'm gonna try to be a bit more organized and try to get more information out, in this video in less amount of time. Try to condense it a bit. I drew out a bit of an outline that I might be following, loosely. Here, I'll just point out some of these words because I see this is kind of difficult to see. Voice lessons, okay. I'll just mention what we got here. Okay, so I start off here. Evolution, right? Hunting, territory, right? Mating, artificial selection, or non-artificial selection. We got subconscious and your conscious, your neocortex, choice. Okay, we've got Neanderthals, right? Empathy, Graham Hancock. We got genetics. We got 23andMe, right? Okay, evolution. We got territory, right? We talked about that. Fractal evolution. That ties in with trees and vines and heliocentric movements of the Earth, Sun, the stars, the Milky Way galaxy. Okay? Under hunting, we got mimicry. We got marching. We've got herding, echolocation, right? Beatboxing. Okay, over under trees, we've got trees and vines. We got Buddha. We got the Bodhi tree, right? We've got swinging, climbing, falling. Okay, under here we got beatboxing, okay? That lies under mimicry or marching, right? Marching, efficiency, group efficiency, synchronizations, right? What we got here? We got animal calls under mimicry, right? We've got mooing like a cow, for example, trilling, right? Some trills, howling like canines, okay? We've got whistling like birds, and we've got whistling, Fledermaus, right? An opera or an operetta, right? Might talk about that. Anyways, okay, that's an overview of what we got here for this next tutorial, right? Okay, also under territory, being territorial is Homo sapiens. We've got peace, and we've got the Maori tribe, right? Like, they're hookah. You know what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to try to talk about all this stuff. Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. Man, see how this goes. Okay, I got my dance floor kind of set up here. This jacket's a bit too hot. Sorry about the man boobs or the gut here. I'm a little bit out of shape. I haven't been dancing as much as I should be. Right? Busy. Life is pretty hectic as a Homo sapien, right? Okay. So let's talk about voice lessons, okay? I can't really talk about voice lessons without talking about evolution, okay? Singing, dancing, hunting, it's all the same thing, okay? We're animals. Human beings are animals, right? I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. And we hunt and we gather, okay? We're so removed from our environment now because of all the tools, the houses that we live in, electricity, yada, yada, yada. You get the point about that. Okay, so why do I have to talk about hunting or reproduction or artificial selection or even eugenics in a sense, right? Because we have a neocortex. We're allowed choice. We make choices, Homo sapiens, right? We can make good choices or we can make bad choices, right? But I can talk a little bit about my own genetic ancestry, right? I've done the 23andMe test or whatever, and I have something like 64 variants of Neanderthal DNA, right? And, I mentioned in my last tutorial, singing is more about experience than, or like exercise or building flexibility. Well, apparently 23andMe says there's, genetic variations that make some people, have a better sense of intonation. So, and I would just assume that maybe those are variants that maybe, Caucasoids or Caucasians, like myself, had, eugenically chosen, by interbreeding with Neanderthals and maybe even in the end, bred them out or, killed them off maybe. Maybe for reasons like they weren't as attractive, or maybe they were too empathetic or something like that, right? There's not that much, real evidence. I mean, we can talk about Graham Hancock, but then we start getting into conspiracy theories and stuff. So, I mean, if you like that stuff, you can go nuts on it. But yeah, so apparently I may have more genes that, are conducive to better intonation, right? And like, I don't really know the gist of, the genetics and variants with Neanderthals and stuff like that. But, maybe some Caucasians have a better sense of intonation. But that sounds really racist, right? But one thing that we could maybe agree on, and this is, kind of, not bigoted, but like, what's the word? Not subjective, I don't know. To say like, okay, white people don't have as much rhythm, right? I mean, I don't really have a great sense of internal pulse, right? I really don't. Like, I can be a good dancer, but I'm not laying down that pulse, right? And we can talk about, African Americans and their connection with pulse and their sense of musicianship and their contributions to, Western music, through their, ancestry and traditions passed down through, the drum or whatever. Like, at some point we diverged, right? And, people with more skin pigment like this perhaps developed from, moving further away from the equator, right? And perhaps that connection to pulse was lost along the way, right? Maybe because, we were moving into territory with more Neanderthals and, maybe they didn't have that sense of pulse. This is all speculation, right? But, yeah, and maybe, we learned different ways for hunting that were less, dependent on herding and working together as a team, and more about, animal mimicry through sound, right? To bring in prey, right? Through, whistling or whatever. I don't know any bird calls. I don't know any animal calls, but as a singer, and, I took a few lessons with John Fanning, right? He has the Order of Canada bestowed upon him or whatever. He had some really interesting take on singing, right? He always used the analogy of like humans are like, think of yourself as like a lion, like, oh. And I mean, he wouldn't even sound like that. He'd be like, oh, and talk about like, unleashing the lion within kind of thing. But I don't think humans sound like lions at all. I don't think humans really want to hunt lions. Like, they want to stay away from lions, right? I mean, let's talk about close relationships that human beings do have with animals. Let's talk about cows. Let's talk about canines, right? Even, cats, maybe. I haven't thought about that. But really, when I think about, human beings, I think about like the sound of a cow, like and I had this dog, a Labradoodle, right? I mean, we could talk about eugenics, through breeding, right? And how fascinated the Germans were with, eugenics and dogs, right? We got the German Shepherd, we got the Poodle, which is a German dog. It's means puddle dog, right? Because they designed them to have webbed feet, right? And an additional lens in their eye that closes, or I don't know how it closes, when they go under the water so they could see underwater, and they have like, hypoallergenic fur that, keeps them warm in colder water, right? And then they trim those pom-poms around them around their joints, so the joints would stay warmer in the water, but they shave them in other places so they wouldn't be so slow in the water, right? With hydrodynamics, right? So, I mean, we can talk about that stuff, but I'll try to keep it, to, like the basics here. So, okay, like people are like, like we're so removed from like our past, our evolutionary past, right? And we still have those genes, right? They're inside of us, and they like really, they propel us through life subconsciously, like our primitive fears and like, our desire to be wanted or whatever. And, we can talk about like the Maori tribes in New Zealand, right? They still have I believe it's called the haka or something like that, right? It's this dance that they do at the beginning of like rugby games, right? And people are like, oh, it's pretty aggressive, right? But like, really, it's not. It's not aggressive because, I mean, think about it. You're a clan or a tribe, right? And you have your territory that has so only so much food or whatever, or resources, and you have your boundaries, and you're out hunting, and you come across another tribe or another group, right? Like, what's more violent? Just seeing another tribe and then just going at it? Or, what? Maybe you could lay down some beats. Maybe you got a drum on you, right? Maybe you can show this other tribe how that you mean business, that you're not to be messed with, through movement and dance, and showing them, like, we have these amazing hunting skills. Don't mess with us. Step back or join us, right? Like, we have something that we can teach you. Maybe, like, maybe some of you guys want to step over this line and learn from us, right? Opposed to just saying, let's not even saying anything and just throwing a spear at someone, right? The peace is always the best option, right? And music has this primitive connection to peace, really, and communication, and without words even, right? Like, there's so many different languages and dialects. Like, we've started to unify a lot of those things, right? Through, our culture and stuff like that, and like politics and, money and power and stuff like that, and music. I didn't put this on my notes, but in the dusty section of UBC Music Library, I picked up a book on music philosophy, and just briefly talked about China and how they unified people with music, right? Like, they did it through intonation. There was like an official, frequency that they went around from different counties, or, I don't know what they call them, but they'd go around and there'd be a village or county instrument, and it had to be in tune with their official instrument, right? And, that's a way of creating unification, right? Yeah, and I mean, like, this will sound crude or whatever, like talking about, breeding and stuff like that. But I mean, if you're a tribe going around, right, and, you want to gain some territory, there's ways to attract the opposite sex, and there's ways to repel the opposite sex, right? So women too, right? These tools of communication would be taught to women as well, to defend themselves, right? To be like, don't mess with me. I belong to, that tribe. Look at my dance moves. Listen to how I make music, right? You don't want to mess with me. You don't. And, so you're strutting through the forest, right? You're probably not moving around so much. You're probably like trying to move in slow motion, right? Trying not to make sound, right? All of a sudden, you see another tribe, you get down low, right? Into the brush. Now your head is up like this, right? Now you have a 360-degree view of your surroundings in case you're getting tracked from all sides, right? Okay, you see those guys, you see how they're moving, they're clunky. They're a little, they don't know what's going on, right? So you're like, okay, they see me. All right, you guys think you can take me? Right? Obviously, that's not very intimidating because, I'm not a master, right? You're always learning, right? I mean, I've only kind of been working on these theories for like 4 years, really, and they're just theories, right? But they seem to make a lot of logical sense. Yeah, so I mean, that's a pretty good way of getting your message across without, speaking someone else's language, right? The language of your surroundings, right? The language of the animals that you hunt. You can make a really good mimic of a lion. People are like, this person hunts lions, right? And I mean, like, we can talk about primitive tools and stuff, but I mean, like, it's like the story of David and Goliath with Malcolm Gladwell, right? He talked about how, like, David, killed Goliath with a stone. It's like, yeah, you could easily kill someone with a stone, right? Like, you don't need a spear to kill something, right? To hunt something. I mean, you go outside for a walk and you find a stone this big. You don't even need a stone this big, right? And I do not condone violence at all. Not at all. The exact opposite, right? But like, I mean, stones are a perfect example. Like, you can use a stone to actually counter your weight, right? To run faster. And then, boom, right? Animal goes down. I mean, you got 4 people with stones and like good accuracy, right? You could start with the small stones and then have one guy coming in with the big stone. A bear, a lion, an elephant, a giraffe, maybe not a hippo, right? But then, yeah, you got spears too, right? So, I don't know, I guess, okay, what else can we talk about? Marching, right? Echolocation for herding, right? So, you're working as a group, right? You got 2 guys, right? And you want to herd that animal. The middle, say my nose is the animal, right? Well, you can't, you're in the bush, right? Maybe you're on the plains. You can't see each other, right? You can only see so far, but you can hear, right? Right? And I mean, like, that's what I'm talking about with music, right? Too. That internal sense of rhythm can help you both keep your pace, right? And it can get you in synchronization. And you can use, these concepts of beatboxing and stuff to help you with efficiency for breath movement, right? And yeah, like, talking about dogs, I have a silly story. So I have this Labradoodle, and like, man, that dog howled when it was sad, right? And when I was really getting a lot better as a singer and really applying these principles to my practices, I'd be getting better and better. And this dog, like, would howl just with me, right? He thought I was in agony, right? He was empathizing with me, right? And the better I got and the more efficient, the more he was in tune with that sense of agony or something, right? And he howled even more. As my singing got better, he felt sadder and sadder for me, right? I mean, some animals like dogs are super empathetic, right? And like, they work as a pack. And like, I think now is a good time to talk about this whole alpha beta thing, right? It's absolutely backwards. Like, Google gray wolves or canine hierarchies. It's, people have this perception that like being aggressive is an alpha trait. It's not. It's a beta trait. It's a beta trait. Okay? The alpha of a canine group is the father of all of the other, in wolves, of all of the other canine within the group, okay? There's the alpha mating pair, right? And like, really, the alpha is just like a beta that left the group as a sigma and started up their own pack, okay? The alpha doesn't lead the pack. The alpha follows the pack and makes sure the weakest at the back are safe and protected, okay? The betas lead the pack. The betas make the kill, right? And then the alpha comes in and tries to dominate the betas from eating the food first. The youngest and the weakest have to eat the food first, or else the pack dies. It's absolutely opposite of what we perceive as being alpha and beta. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like, honestly, like, how you can't have a bunch of alphas, right? All the guys think they're alphas. No. You're not alphas, you're betas. You're aggressive betas. There's a Stanford study on baboons, which are the most intelligent, primate species. And like, yeah, the study by Stanford, maybe it's in one of my playlists of theories that support Adenac technique or whatever. But yeah, like, they did this study and like, there was a virus that hit this troop, right? That's what they call a group of baboons, right? And so within this group, there was like one group that was like the females, and then like more docile males within this group, within the troop. And then there was a group of aggressive, angry, what our society would call alphas, but they were the betas, okay? And this troop was hit with a virus, right? We can relate to that, right? And all the betas died off because they were always stressed out because they were a bunch of jerks. They were a bunch of aggressive, selfish jerks, right? And I mean, capitalism 101, right? It's like dominate, right? It's like, get as much as you can in a short amount of period of time and like blah, 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 right? And we even, we put down the creative people that are empathic, right? Sigmas, right? We're like, we want them back in the beta group to show them that, like, we're the bosses, betas rule, right? Sigmas, and I mean, we can look at the MBTI typology like an INFJ, right? It's the 1%, right? The shamans or whatever, the visionaries or the people that look outside the box or can see the society as a whole from outside, right? And see the flaws, right? Like it's not much fun hanging out with a person like me, like an INFJ, right? Like I really have to hold my tongue a lot around people because I'll hurt people's feelings because I see things very differently from outside of the box, from being an outsider, right? And like those traits are the Sigma traits. I mean, you look at a tribe, right? And they're like, someone's dying of something, right? And you don't know what it is. It's a virus or something. Well, it's going to be the Sigma that goes out into the wilderness to try to find the plant or that's going to cure them, or like, they're trying to come up with an idea to help people, and sometimes you'll come back to the group and you're like, oh, I went so far outside of the group and it was really scary. And like, I look at these plants I found. I actually even talked to like these other tribes and stuff, and they said like this thing will work or whatever. And like I made friends with them. They didn't want to really kill me because I was dancing in front of them. They didn't want to mess with me. They didn't want to mess with their tribe. Yada yada yada. And you come back with like this information, and everyone's like, that's not something that we do. Or they can be closed off or yada yada. Like that's not a perspective that we've seen before. Like, why are you talking to other tribes? Like, they're disgusting. They're below us, right? It's absolutely ignorant. And, like, we can talk about COVID or whatever, but it's just going to hurt people's feelings. I mean, it's the betas. They're like, oh, this is a hoax. I'm not going to be wearing a mask. Like, I'm not afraid of COVID. Right? And the alphas are at home with their children being like, holy, this is scary. Well, we got to stay away from these dudes. Listening to information, like different perspectives. Maybe we'll listen to a person that's talking about some conspiracy theory about, whatever, and be like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of, maybe that's true, but I don't know. Why would I take that chance? Like, why? you know, and in a way, like, you know, just the way, you know, we're approaching this whole thing is through capitalism, and it's just like, it's genocidal. It's like, and in a way, you know, I don't know, sure, in a way we could look at it in an evolutionary standpoint and be like, yeah, we're getting rid of that beta group of people that you know, don't want to cooperate, aren't open to new opinions, right? So I mean, this could be a form of evolution, right? Viruses killing off the aggressive people that, you know, are stuck in their ways, right? I went off track there. I think that's enough for what, like, that thing. I think I'm gonna have to start another video here. All right.